So we've got some very big teases and hints as to what we can expect from the upcoming combat zone from the Phantom Liberty expansion coming up here in 2023. Check out the headline right here. It says the new combat zone expansion in Cyberpunk, cyber psychos rule the lands behind the wall. It's almost like it sounds like the combat zone Pacifica is going to be kind of like a free-for-all prison of sorts. I'll explain in just a moment. Plus, we have this one right here, a big shakeup at CD Projekt Red as Phantom Liberty expansion development comes to a close. Things are changing, and they are changing fast because it seems like, yes, the Phantom Liberty expansion development is wrapping up finally. And companions in Cyberpunk DLC, will it happen? CD Projekt Red gives some choice words about roaming around with friends in Night City. So yeah, we got some comments from the development team about that one. And then we have the highly requested romance option players demand. Will Cyberpunk add this in Phantom Liberty expansion? You guys want this so badly. I'll talk about it here. Will it ever happen? Also, the biggest Cyberpunk mystery is still haunting players. Will fans finally be able to resolve this with the release of the expansion? So yeah, it seems like fans are really cracking down the code and finally figuring things out. The missing puzzle piece might actually be the expansion, believe it or not. But you know what? Check this out right here. Oh no, not again. I'm turning into a werewolf. I hate when this happens. But guess what? For every problem, there's a solution, and that solution is Manscaped. And Manscaped was kind enough to send me a wide assortment of amazing Manscaped products from their all-in-one Performance Package 4.0. It's time to tame the wild beast that is always trying to escape. And to do this, I start my day by first grooming in the shower. Yes, you heard right. The new Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof and cordless, so I can tackle my grooming where I'm most comfortable, in my warm waterfall, also known as a shower. Grooming is also super easy and mess-free, which is important because at any time you need to be able to prepare for those late night, be ready for anything moments when they happen. And check this out, Lawnmower 4.0 has these replaceable ceramic blades with skin-safe technology plus a built-in LED light to help you trim with absolute confidence. And the Lawnmower 4.0 is super easy to charge as it offers a wireless charging system, and if you're traveling, you can use the travel lock feature. And once you're done showering, be sure to apply the Manscaped Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant. It's quick absorbing, clear drying moisturizer lotion for all-day protection. But go the extra mile for your balls. Apply the midday refresher known as the Crop Reviver Ball Toner Spray, which offers cooling aloe vera and anti-inflammatory properties. But the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 bundle now includes, wait for it, the new Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer. This thing works like a charm too. And when you opt in for the full Performance Package 4.0 kit, you get the biggest bang for your buck. You can enroll in Manscaped's Peak Hygiene Plan and receive ongoing replenishments of your favorite Manscaped products delivered straight to your door, hassle-free. And get this, for a limited time, you can get not one, but 2 free gifts: the Shed Travel Bag and the Manscaped Anti-Chafing Boxer Briefs. So be sure to go to manscaped.com today and get 20% off, plus free international shipping, plus 2 free gifts when you use promo code OpenWorldGames at checkout. See the link in the description below. What are you waiting for? Join the Manscaped movement today. Your balls will be forever grateful. All right, so let's get into the Cyberpunk news. First of all, starting out with this one from Sebastian Columba. He is the former head of animation and animation director on Cyberpunk 2077 and The Witcher 3. So he knows a thing or two about video games and CD Projekt Red as well. Check out his announcement today. This is very big. I'll explain in just a moment. He says this: career news, I'm directing the new Witcher saga since joining CD Projekt Red. I believe nothing is impossible in raising the bar. Telling emotional stories and creating worlds is what we're here for. I'm proud to be a part of CD Projekt Red and work with such a talented and passionate team. Now, of course, he's moving on to The Witcher. But what does that mean for Phantom Liberty? This is telling me that Phantom Liberty is beginning to wrap up development of the actual expansion, that people are beginning to finally loosen up and move on to newer, fresher projects. Of course, Phantom Liberty is a very fresh project. It's not even out. But yeah, this goes to show how fast-paced the gaming industry is. And then, of course, you're probably wondering, hey, well, who's going to help out with Cyberpunk Orion? Who's going to be the animation lead on that project? That's going to be the question. They're going to be doing a lot of hiring for Cyberpunk 2 in the future through Epic Games. And that's going to be in, of course, North America. So here's to see how this all works out in the long term, of course. All right, so yeah, let's talk about the combat zone. As you can see, we are exploring what I would call the unfinished parts of Pacifica. This is where I believe we will be exploring the combat zone and really experiencing the meat of the content for Phantom Liberty and what to expect from that. So recently, I've dived into some details, some information about the combat zone that I did discover. And this is all official information, by the way, about Cyberpunk 2077, about the combat zone. And it really does reveal what we can potentially expect from the combat zone and Pacifica when we finally get our hands on Phantom Liberty. Check it out right here. We're going to go into detail right now. And it says this right here, and stay with me till the end. It is worth it. It says, at some point after the time of the Red, investors funded the Pacifica district of Night City to become a wealthy tourist destination. Unfortunately, the Unification War of 2069 to 2070 halted Pacifica's success in its tracks as fears mounted that the new United States, which of course is going to be a faction we will be dealing with in this new expansion, would invade Night City from Southern California, and Pacifica would become a battlefield. Corporations and other investors raced to pull their funding from the district's ongoing projects. With Night City's economy already on a downturn, the effect on Pacifica was disastrous, and most of the district was left incomplete and lawless. And that's why you see these big skyscrapers here, as you can see right here, we're flying around them, that are left completely incomplete, I guess you would say. They are unfinished. They just completely abandoned what they were working on. And yeah, it goes on to say this right here. It says construction work was put on permanent hold, leaving most buildings unfinished. Not long after that, gangs and the homeless moved in. The worst areas of the district became a combat zone, and at some point were walled off from the rest of Pacifica. So it sounds like it's both hard to get into this combat zone and possibly potentially hard to get out of it. Almost view it like a free-form prison of sorts in parts of Pacifica, and I just think it sounds so cool. Now, we're going to get into some major details here, so check this out right here. It says, by 2077, let me zoom this in, the Pacifica combat zone was still the most dangerous area of Night City. Rumors abound that the area is used by the NCPD as a place to dispose of cyber psychos and other dangerous criminals. Moreover, the combat zone has seemingly fallen under the rule of an individual known as the General and their militia. Nina Chulo, against the wishes of her father, went into the combat zone to scavenge, but got shot by the General's people and died not long after. So my assessment of this, if we are going to take this and think of it as actual gameplay features as to what to expect from the combat zone, it sounds like cyber psychos would be way more prevalent here in the combat zone than compared to what we have experienced in Night City. It's going to be a place where you're going to have to be on your toes, and I imagine have some skill. And I'm hoping that, you know, your complaints about the game currently being too easy, that the difficulty is somewhat ramped up for those of you that actually want a challenge, that have stuck with the game for a very long time, that is actually going to be an option for you. I think that could be the case. I'm curious to see what they do with the AI, but it sounds like there's going to be some very formidable gang members in there. This general character could potentially be someone that we do run into during our playthrough in Phantom Liberty. That has not been confirmed, of course, but it would be really cool to run into him for sure. But this is an interesting detail I'm about to get into, because it could actually turn into an actual gameplay feature. Check it out. It's called the Combat Cab. It says Combat Cab, formerly stylized as Combat Cab, specializes in ground vehicle transport, with cabs armored like tanks and armed like AV9s. Their mottos: we get you there, dead or alive, and leave the combat to us, typify the attitude of its freebooting drivers, now world famous thanks to DM's long-running comedy drama. So get this, it looks like potentially what we could be having here with the combat zone is perhaps some sort of missions around driving around high value individuals through the combat zone for reasons, and we have to ensure their survival. We would be the ones that potentially could be handling combat in these scenarios. I would bet that this would end up being a potential feature during our time in Phantom Liberty in Pacifica. So yeah, I would not be surprised if that happens. But there was also that interesting tidbit about this comedy series they mentioned dedicated to the combat cars. Check this out, because I'm curious to see if we see references to this, or if we could be a part of this a little bit more. It says, in 2013, author G. Stafford drafted a slightly fictionalized account of Cece's adventures during the mob wars and the metal wars after. The book was later produced as a movie by director Francisco Cappellini, then taken to video in 2017, by diverse media systems. By 2020, hundreds of millions had been glued each Thursday night to their vid screens for the past 3 years, faithfully following the adventures of Herrick, portrayed by screen hunk Patrick Lewis Lindell, his partner lover Emmanuel Moore, toughest cabbie in the city, and the rest of the Combat Cab's level cast, making the series one of the highest rated vid shows in history. All I can think about is it would be really cool to see something like Death Race for this expansion, you know, Jason Statham, that sort of thing. It would be so cool if they had a play on that, and we could experience some sort of wild, wacky, crazy live television show in the combat zone. I really, really hope that they could potentially tap into that. But, you know, again, that's a feature that has not been advertised thus far. I'm just saying, would be cool, CD Projekt Red. But we'll see if we actually can run into mention about this comedy type series. I'm sure that it might be mentioned during our time in Phantom Liberty for sure. Or maybe, just maybe, we'll have actual missions revolve around it. And yeah, CD Projekt Red had some very interesting things to say about companions in Cyberpunk 2077. Check it out right here. It comes from this post from Camille Cicero, who says, the quest director, Mr. Pablo Sasco, talks about companion mode for Cyberpunk or another Cyberpunk game. What is your opinion about companion mode? Do you think it is a needful feature? And Pablo Sasco goes on to say this, and he's speaking about companions tagging along with you in the world, that sort of thing. He says this right here, looking at everything Cyberpunk needs or benefits from, I'm not too sure if this is the most useful thing we can work on. And, you know, for me, I just don't expect that currently to happen within the vanilla game for Cyberpunk. Now, when it comes to Phantom Liberty, that might be a different story, but it does get interesting with what he says here. He goes on to say, however, you're asking directly about another squad-based Cyberpunk game. Who knows what the future might bring? I cannot talk about future content, but I'm interested in working on all types of games. And that's an end quote right there. Now, it would be so cool to see like an Edge Runner squad-based type cooperative experience like that, or even with AI that you can kind of control, you know, through Night City or something like that. But yeah, it was definitely interesting to see him discuss that for sure. So maybe, just maybe, we could get something like that in the future for Cyberpunk, because it seems like they are very much wanting to branch out with their franchises in other genres. I mean, look at The Witcher. They're doing that with The Witcher, where they're having more of an action adventure, less of an RPG experience with one of their games that they're working on currently. Now, a lot of you guys want to see this romance option in the future for Cyberpunk 2077. Check it out right here. 5,500 upvotes. Anyone else hope Meredith Stout returns in Phantom Liberty as a full romance option this time? Look at those eyes. So yeah, it seems like a lot of you guys want to see that happen, where that's more fleshed out. Who knows? Maybe, just maybe, CD Projekt Red will answer the call. But also, I know a lot of you guys want to see a Blue Moon romance fully fleshed out as well. Let me know which one you prefer, Meredith Stout or a Blue Moon romance. But yeah, we also got to talk about the hidden secrets within Night City. There's still something very, very big that we all have yet to discover. Check it out right here. 2 years later, Cyberpunk fans are still trying to solve the game's biggest mystery. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's related to this right here. FF06 B5. I'm sure many of you know that one. But, you know, players and fans around the world have been desperately trying to solve this. And let's take a look at what we know so far about the secrets, because they're piling up right now. And it could be that the missing piece might actually be Phantom Liberty itself. I kid you not, because people have really dived deep into Night City currently, and there's just something missing. Isn't that interesting? So it goes on to say this right here: FF06B5, when used as an HTML hex color code, translates to shocking pink, or as the community refers to it, and often the mystery itself, magenta. So it might be that this is pointing towards some sort of meaning behind color. That's part of one part of it. It says this: the sequence looks like a portion of MAC address or matches other kinds of code sequences found elsewhere in the game. You can find those throughout the game in Night City. And then it says multiple statues identical and similar in shape appear throughout the game. Some even do weird things like emit sparks when shot, or simply hold orbs that are suspiciously colored pink. So this color pink is definitely prominent throughout this puzzle, if you want to call it that. Then it says NPC monks gather in front of the D3 Prime statue. They can be heard chanting as well as repeating one particularly intriguing line of dialogue: "My apprentice, your throat chakra is blocked. Activate the meridians on the roof of your mouth." It almost sounds like, to me, for me personally, I think of Skyrim and dragon shouts and that sort of thing whenever we talk about that. But then we have this one right here: NPC monks gather in front of D3 Prime statue. They can be heard chanting. Oh, we already went over that one. Then we have this one right here. Paulo Sasco also says this: a lead quest designer confirmed that this isn't a case of smoke where there is no fire. He acknowledges that it is indeed a mystery worth looking into, likely with a specific meaning and solution, and one he has turned down every opportunity to shed light on, even when asked directly. So there is a conclusion to this. There is some sort of finite finale to this one. I cannot wait what could possibly be discovered. And there's also something noteworthy about one of the updates that happened more recently with Cyberpunk and this mystery. Check it out. There's also somewhat of a sixth fact to consider. After update 1.5, the text on the D3 Prime changed from red to yellow, and that could possibly mean is anyone's guess. Color seems to be a very important thing, a central thing, in my opinion, of course, to this puzzle. It seems like everyone is still very much searching for answers with this one for sure. Let me know if you guys discover anything, by the way. My Twitter is open to you all, so if you do find out anything, please let me know. I'm curious. All right, so let's go ahead and get into, yes, your top comments from my most recent video. So let's do this. So yeah, what was my most recent video about? Check it out right here. It says Cyberpunk just confirmed this. I'm excited, but also very worried. All new updates. So let's get into your replies here. MTF Leader says, not every game needs multiplayer. I wish more developers would understand this. Yes, thank you. I couldn't agree more with you. Most single player franchises that are hitting it big they get destroyed when they introduce any type of multiplayer, even if it's cooperative play. It just somehow just makes the experience so much worse, and it makes it more shallow. In the case of like Borderlands, that started out with, you know, cooperative play, so I won't count that. But yeah, single player exclusivity should still be a thing where we have single player only games. I mean, look at God of War Ragnarok, which is coming up here very soon. Totally hyped about that one. This is a single player only experience and by far one of the highest rated games ever. So it is possible to really have successful single player franchises. All right, then we have this one from Edgar Rice, who says, we can't expect Phantom Liberty to be double size in lieu of the 2 DLCs. I imagine the reason for dropping the second DLC is to get development back on track after a year of bug fixes, switching engines, and forming a new studio from the ground up. That time has to come from somewhere. I'll be happy with a solid expansion. Yeah, I hear you. It's, for me personally, it's still disappointing. It's still like, man, what could have been, you know, what could they have been planning with like a second expansion? I would love to see what was planned there, because, you know, they probably had something written up for the future of Cyberpunk that they'll never get to, or maybe they'll just drop it into Cyberpunk Orion, and that could be very, very exciting seeing that on Unreal Engine 5. Then we have Syphon, who says, regarding the attribute points, I feel like replayability shouldn't be forced, as allowing to reset attribute points also prolongs the gameplay experience. I agree 100% on that one as well. I think players should always be given options in any way, shape, and form, honestly. Then we have New York City Kid, who says, I think their comment on the expansion that it would be a different structure than The Witcher means that yes, there will be a decent sized story expansion, but it will also contain a lot of new features, activities, interactions. I was on to say this, from what I remember about The Witcher 3, and forgive me, I started playing way after the DLC, it didn't introduce a lot of new features, activities, and for interactions, I mean open world interaction, which Cyberpunk is sadly lacking severely. If only they could get to that and add a bunch of different ways to explore Night City, including random encounters, being able to take a companion. This is something I personally would love. Go to bars, nightclubs, and experience Night City in that way instead of just being about shooting. Really embrace the role-playing side of Cyberpunk. That would be amazing to see with Phantom Liberty. Now, we'll have to wait and see what happens. What is exciting to me, though, is that they're basically expanding on the current existing map, so the potential is absolutely there for them to really fine-tune what they could do with Night City as a whole, beyond even the Pacifica region. So, crossing my fingers that that actually happens. But there it is, the latest happenings around Cyberpunk 2077. I'm excited for Phantom Liberty. Let's hope it turns out to be really, really good. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more, and I will see you all next time. Take care.